Good afternoon from Astoria, Queens. It's your lunch break, late lunch. Good afternoon. Hope you guys can hear me. I'm doing a little broadcast here. I got my hair covered up because it's a mess. Beautiful cold day here in Astoria, Queens, New York. The music you're hearing in the background is not from me. I didn't put it up, but it's playing in the background, so hopefully Facebook will not block this out. Hey Dennis, how are you? Jusan, Mr. Williams, how are you? Today's a quickie. Today we're going to talk a little bit about net neutrality. Hey guys, if you're out there, if you can hear me, just somebody say, hey, we can hear you. Oh, wait a minute before I start. Hey Dennis, how are you, man? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm actually sitting right under a speaker. Yeah, I'm a Facebook creator, so anytime I put stuff up, it's going to go out to all my friends and just pop up on the page. Facebook had something called, mentions, and now it's creators. Oh, you can hear me, that's good. So yeah, so it comes up. So every day I'm trying to create content because eventually they're going to monetize it for all of us. I mean, we're not going to be like Lorenzo Ball and his family with ballers, but I hope to make something happen with all that kind of stuff. So 2 big things happened today. Well, 3 big things. Oh, thank you, Dennis. I'm glad you guys can hear me. So we're going to go real quick. So right now, 2 big things came through that are going to affect people who love doing their stuff on the internet. Content creators like myself, people who just like going on social media and stuff like that. The FCC voted to change the rules on net neutrality. Joseph, how are you, man? On net neutrality. And people go, hasn't the net always worked the same way all the time? What it's been is that there was protections in there saying that they can't charge you extra money for different times that you stream stuff, what things you look at on the internet, things like that. Donna, how are you? But what happened today is under the Trump administration, they sort of repealed the net neutrality. And basically net neutrality was a thing that made the footings fair for everyone. Like, so you couldn't be locked out. They couldn't make fees so high. Maya, how are you? You couldn't make fees so high that people could not afford access to the internet. It should be free for everybody. But now, although companies like Comcast say they're not going to raise their prices, there's nothing to stop them from doing it. And I keep putting up things on my page and people think it's ridiculous, where if you're trying to go on Twitter in the future, or you're trying to go on any kind of social media, any internet platform, they decide to charge you extra for it. Don't be surprised if this leads to the fact that one day you're going to have to pay for Facebook. The reason why Alphabet, which is Google, and Facebook were against the change, I love this song, is the fact that now people can say that Facebook use up a lot of bandwidth. People use up a lot of our bandwidth on Facebook. So if they're on Facebook, we're going to charge you more. We're going to charge Facebook to host your stuff on our sites. You got to now charge people to be, hey, Clay, how are you, sir? You're going to be able to charge people more to just have Facebook available to them through their ISP. And it's possibly going to happen. People, places like Comcast and large ISPs are saying they're not going to do it. But you got to realize that eventually the lure of profits is going to be so great, I don't trust the corporations. And the issue is that net neutrality protected and gave access to everyone. So that's one thing, that very interesting thing happened today. The next thing that happened today is that you're going to come to a point where if the deal goes through with Disney purchasing Fox's material, it's great for us nerds because it unites a lot of the properties. So if Disney takes over Fox, a lot of the movies, a lot of the Marvel stuff that we love, all that kind of stuff now comes under one umbrella, one company. If you take Disney's assets, right, and you take Fox's assets and put them together, that's 40% of the content that's out there in movies and stuff like that. So you're kind of limiting, you're narrowing the pipeline of entertainment that's coming out. But the next thing that happens is that the future for us, and we all love, is streaming. We all sit here and we stream Amazon. So there's Amazon, there's Netflix, there's Yahoo, through YouTube, but especially Netflix. Netflix is going to get really hurt by this deal because Netflix is going to lose its access to all the Disney properties, and it's going to lose its access to the Marvelverse that it has. And it's also going to lose access to the Fox movie library, all the stuff that Fox has. So imagine you can go to Netflix, take out every Disney property, every Fox property, take all the Marvel things for them. Now you've limited you're limited sort of where they can pull their content from, right? But on top of that, what happens is that Disney was going to go ahead and Disney was going to launch its own streaming service. But now what happened, by buying Fox, they now control 30 to 50% of Hulu. All they're going to do is take Hulu and rebrand it as Disney streaming. So when you look at it that way, that's going to make it really bad for the other streaming services, because Amazon's still left, Apple is still left, Netflix is still left, and Netflix is already crippled by the fact that they're losing a lot of their content. So what's happening is you're sort of shrinking down where we can get our entertainment from. A lot of people complained when there was cable companies that the cable companies had a monopoly, and that monopoly forced us into really, paying expensive money for packages and stuff like that. In the future, ISPs are going to be able to package things for you and charge you money for it. And it's not a joke. They might say, do you want the social media package? We're going to charge you, besides anything else you pay, we're going to charge you $9 a month so you can tweet, Periscope, be able to get to YouTube and stuff like that. But if you get our super package, you get unlimited use of your own Facebook page. Because remember, Facebook doesn't own this, as far as I know, they don't own their servers. They're at the whims of the ISPs. So now that you change the playing field now, it could come up to where you're going to be paying exorbitant fees to go on what you've been getting for free for so long. It's the whole idea with television. With television, you pay an advertising. So then imagine now, advertising right now is something where Facebook makes all their money from. And they want to get their hands on Facebook's advertising money. They want to get their hands on YouTube's advertising money, because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world besides the stuff that's controlled by Alphabet through Google. So now, without net neutrality, people are going to try to get their hands and get that money. And so where that money is going to come from, it's going to come from you. The other companies that are out there, they're not going to do less they're not going to take a hit for you. Any cost that goes to those companies that are hosted on those internet providers, it's going to come out of your pocket. So you're going to end up paying for it. And the thing is, there was nothing you could do about it. I'm not sure if everybody knew that Trump was going to drop net neutrality when he came in, but it's an idea of that. It's just another example of the government relinquishing its ability to take care of you, stepping back from that. The current administration has stepped back from world leadership, and now it's even stepped back from making things safe and even economical for you. Under the guise of a tax break, you think you're getting stuff back in taxes and stuff like that. It's taking away more than it's giving you, but that's just how it is. I was out in the road this morning taking street photography. As you can see, I had my head wrapped. It was cold this morning. So I missed Omorossa. Nicola, how are you? I missed Omorossa on television this morning saying how she got fired. So I said I think she had the best no-show job in the world. But I guess when she attempted to actually do something, someone said that she was the one that was helping aggravate President Trump. And when John Kelly came in, he got rid of her. Well, yeah, somebody said that, yeah, it's part of the fact that if someone else had put up net neutrality and it wasn't President Obama, Trump still would have wanted to tear it down. But for whoever saw it this morning, you guys can just let me know. I always thought that Omorossa was in that position and was the best no-show job in the world. She literally had to show up every day and be black. That's all she had to do. She didn't have to go and gut a system like Carson. All she had to do was just be black. Walk around, be black, be his friend, be something he can point to as an example of how progressive he is, which he isn't, and that was it. But she didn't even do that well, especially if it's true that she was just aggravating him. Hey, Jerome, how are you? Jerome Apolis, how are you? So with Omorossa gone, I said a joke. I said, who's going to take over her job as the in-house Negro for the Trump administration? I don't know if he knows many other black people. Were those girls Silk and Diamond? Those two morons that well, maybe not. I don't know. She wouldn't view herself as a token or a tool. I was like, don't be surprised if you see him offer the job to the only other black people he knows. But my thing is, what is the next thing that's going to happen? Like, I think John Kelly put her out. I think that she thought she had way more sway than she should have had. So then they cast her out and stuff like that. But what happens next? I mean, she didn't really have a real position. Like, the position was created for her. And if someone creates a position for you and then they fire you from that position, how bad could you be? So you lost a no-show job. Just show up. Now the thing is, if she was in there and she actually tried to influence him, I think she had an overinflated sense of self because no one tells this guy what to do. Oh my gosh, Maxwell Damage. That's my boy. If you guys look, Maxwell Damage that said Stacey Dash. If you look at my other posts, I was saying people he could try to hire to put in there. Stacey Dash with her dried up prune-like beauty and her disdain for anything black and or, Democratic or anything else, she would definitely fit in. And if she can't be a policy advisor, she'll probably be a damn good scullery maid. But yeah, that's a good match. You hit it right on the head. That Stacey Dash could be put in there. So, hopefully while she was there, she actually saw what was going on around her. Because she said, that's one thing I did hear. She said that the administration was interesting. She said it was interesting. So I'm not really sure what she meant by interesting. But hopefully once she's gone, she'll be able to say something about it. Skin folk, not kinfolk. I hear you, man. So yeah, that's the thing with that. So the next thing I want to talk about is not many people did, but if you knew that William Lindsay and I had a radio show back in the day, and I said that I have lots of friends who are cosmetologists, makeup artists, and stuff like that. And years ago, there were stories about Tavis Smiley. And so on our radio show, which I'm going to one day get the old Satan Center shows together, and with William and sit down and see what we can put together that's suitable for human content and put it back out there. But in there, some people told me that Tavis Smiley got himself into some troubles when he was in different areas, and that one of the things was that Tavis Smiley lived a lifestyle where he wanted to keep things under wraps. And then someone said if you looked at that show, Being Mary Jane, her best friend, who she was kind of a beard for on the show, that character was kind of supposed to be Tavis Smiley without his issues and stuff like that. So one of the things I said on on my radio show, we talked about it because it was gossip, and I said, hey, a friend of mine who's a hairdresser said Tavis Smiley this, and this, and that was years ago. And then when it comes down that, Charlie Rose fell down last week when I did a show, or 2 weeks ago, I said the perfect person to replace Charlie Rose is Tavis Smiley. I said unless his baggage gets in the way, because he's great at interviewing. His show is away from Hollywood and stuff like that. I think it's down near San Diego. It was in Atlanta at one point, I think it was. And he had a great chance of taking over Charlie Rose's space and doing that. But now, see, that's over. So, and it's just the situation. It's sad that those things come home to roost. Like yesterday, before I did a show, Morgan Spurlock, I think it was last night, Morgan Spurlock came out and essentially fell on his own sword, saying that he's part of the problem. And one of the statements he made is he goes, he had a girlfriend and she woke up when they were in college, and she woke up and she felt like she was raped. And he said he went about denying. And then he said later on he actually settled lawsuits with female staffers. And the reason he came out was because he came forward because he was waiting for that sword of Damocles that was dangling over his head. He waited for it to come down and chop him in the head. And I'm telling you that I still don't think those things are over. So I don't know what you think about what Morgan Spurlock did, that he decided to go forward. But a lot of people are already saying that just because you came out and said you did it, it doesn't absolve you from whatever comes next. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. I know we still have things going on with Weinstein and stuff like that. One thing I will proudly say is that male and female relationships, it's always unbalanced. Like, I honestly feel not just in the power dynamics, I think in relationship dynamics, men and women have never been further apart. Like, and I put up something the other day, I said, women don't really want to know how men think. You barely like us as it is. And I think that that's just true. And I think that separating that every touch nowadays that's unwarranted is bad touch. So, you can't put your hands on somebody else. But you can't even make certain jokes with some people. And when I sit here, I will stand behind this 100%. If you are a male above a certain age and there are things that you think are safe to say, Run it through your head again in the idea that people are 50% more intolerant than they were when we were whatever. Things are much less acceptable. So if you think it's good inside your head, run it over a few times before you say it. Is there anything I say that can be misconstrued as something wrong? Here's an example. I put up a video of Joe Biden reaching out to what's his name's daughter on The View, and McCain's daughter on The View. And what he did is he started talking about cancer, and McCain and McCain's daughter is there, and she begins to cry. So Joe Biden gets up and goes over to her and takes her hands in his hands, and he holds their hands as he's consoling her. I said, the funny part is, we're in such a victim mentality, and so many people, and so many people have been victimized that people don't know the difference between good and bad touch anymore. All touch is bad touch. And for me, this is really funny. So at my church that I attend, as a reverend as I am a churchgoer and stuff like that, I hug everybody. First of all, these things get me in trouble. I'm an older guy, stuff like this. I call everybody babe. Everybody is babe. Hey babe, this the male, female, pastors, somebody in the street, because it's just how I speak. I met Mayor de Blasio, and I said, hey babe, come this way, and I took him by his arm and moved his guy and stuff when he came to visit our church and stuff like that. It's something I do and I get away with it. But also, because I'm a greeter, and I'm generally a happy person, I hug everybody. So it doesn't matter. If you come in my sphere and I like you, I hug you. And also the funny part is, whenever women meet me, even if they don't know me, when they part from me, they always give me a kiss on the cheek. It's something about me, so I'm not considered a threat in that way. But I thought about it. I hug men and women just the same. Everybody. If you know me, whoever that's on here right now, if you ever met me, you know I'm a hugger. I've been that way since I was a kid. But my touch is good touch. It's good touch. If I see somebody needs consoling, I will hold your hand or touch you on the arm, because that humanizes us and it's a connection. So, but the thing is with McCain, the people on Fox tried to make it out that McCain hugging people was a form of bad touch and stuff like that. And I said, but if you notice, a lot of people that he went to hug are already damaged before he got to them. And I find that out what happens also. I hug everybody. And sometimes there are people when I go, it got to the point where at my church, and God, is this really a wonderful thing. People will line up. If I'm in the back of church at the parking lot and I'm greeting people and coming in and out, there are people who will line up literally to give me a hug. And a hug and a handshake. And people go, I give the best hugs and stuff like that. And some people go, you know what? You're the only hug I get. He goes, you're the only hug I get during the week and stuff like that. And I realize that for some people, because I look and see, there's some people that you don't want to hug, but you know that if you do, they might take it the wrong way. There are people who say to me, well, you must not like me. You didn't give me a hug. And I said, well, I don't know you that well. I don't want to insult anybody. Mm-hmm. But Dennis says he can't hug people. He creeps them out. Listen, it's one of the things. It's a gift that I had. It's got me in trouble. It's really got me out of situations. It humanizes people. When I was a salesman, I used to do presentations as a salesman doing insurance and stuff like that. I was outside. I would encounter 100 people a day. So rejection never bothered me because they went time for the insurance, but also shaking hands and hugging and kissing babies and stuff like that, just how I am. But it was really funny the fact that people line up for me to hug them and stuff like that. So when the morons on Fox tried to say that Joe Biden was a serial toucher, yeah, he is. He's a hugger. He's a loving person and stuff like that. And he understands good touch and bad touch. But the thing is, you don't know what people have been through before you deal with them. You don't know what they've been through before you deal with them. So you have to judge each person on who they are. You just can't grab and touch everybody. But that's the difference. If you want to know the difference between good touch and bad touch, you want to know the difference between Al Franken touch and Biden touch, what Biden did is Biden touch. That's good touch. The next thing is with a lot of people making a big deal about in the Moore situation down in Alabama, and I'm going to make this quick, about the fact that some people called it a witch hunt. Some people said that he was guilty before he was even given his day in court and stuff like that. The lack of contrition, the lack of saying sorry, the lack of even admitting that you could have caused a problem, that you could have been creepy, is what eventually caught it. It got to the point where, just imagine how Alabama, and if you're from Alabama, don't take this as an insult, but you know you live there. I'm from the South too. I'm from Mississippi. You know, I'm New York bred and raised, but I spent a lot of time in Mississippi. The entrenched racism, the entrenched social striation of Alabama and stuff like that, the separation of have and have-nots and stuff like that, for people to actually vote against him and vote the other candidate in, says a lot about how swarmy and how unclean Moore made people feel. I mean, the whole idea of him riding in on a horse, and the New York City paper said, and the horse you rode in on was classic. But he was creepy. Okay, going back to what I said before, people at Fox are creeps. Here's the interesting thing. I'm going to jump all the way back to the beginning. If you weren't watching, watch from the beginning. The fact that Disney purchased Fox, it sort of cleanses Fox a little bit, that Disney bought Fox. But this disgusting part of Fox, which is the news network, a lot of stuff having to do with television and stuff like that, is staying under Murdoch. So basically, all the good touch that's connected with Fox, the Fox good touch, is going to Disney, and the bad touch is being spun off on its own company. One of the things, and I was saying, the reason I want to bring it up again, just in case you missed it, is with the net neutrality vote that came in, there's a chance that maybe 3 or 4 years from now, companies are saying they're not going to raise your rates. The cell phone companies are not going to say they're going to raise your rates for internet access. It's all part of the same package and stuff like that. The remaining cable companies are saying things about they control your internet. That's all going to change in the upcoming years. It's going to change. And we've lost our protection. We're not going to get it back. And the next thing is, as someone who likes the creative process, I'm not sure if it's great that the creative process and all these creators are going to be locked into Disney. That Disney Fox conglomerate is going to be really huge. I'm also intrigued what's going to happen where Disney has such a clean image, and FX, and I think FX is also staying. No, I think actually FX is coming over in the deal because FX is a great channel. But under FX, a lot of the titles there are not squeaky clean Disney titles. And what I've heard from people who saw the screenings of Star Wars is that the new Star Wars movie that comes out tomorrow is supposedly excellent, but it's also kid-focused, which is not such a bad thing, but a lot of Star Wars fans are older, and we want it for us. But when we saw the first movies, we were kids. So if it is kid-focused and not so serious, then that's fine. But what happens to all the adult content on Fox's stations like FX? I forgot the name of the man who does a lot of production over there. His stuff is definitely not for kids. And also the fact that Fox is going to be putting out The New Mutants as more of a horror title. What's going to happen with that? What's going to happen with that part of the universe? It's going to be very interesting. So yeah, so those are two things that are going to affect you. If the deal goes through, it's going to take 18 months for the deal to go through with Disney and Fox, and how it's going to affect things. Maybe it'll be in time for the next phase, what's phase 4 of Marvel, that we'll see a unification of all the properties because they'll be under one umbrella. This could possibly be a really bad thing for Netflix because, like I said, Netflix is losing all the Disney stuff, all the Fox stuff, and Hulu's already a pain in their thorn in their side. And now Hulu is going to be under the Disney umbrella. It's going to be called, Hulu's going to change its name to like Disney Streaming. What's going to happen with that? Okay. And the last thing is today, we talked about Tavis Smiley, we talked about Morgan Spurlock, we talked about net neutrality. The last thing I want to say is this, as far as I've been sort of staying away from the political things a little bit, don't forget there's still other struggles that are going on out there. There's still this tax thing that's got to get pushed through. We're still having issues with North Korea, and Trump collusion is still a thing. Don't be dissuaded by it. Don't forget that is still a thing. It's still something that's going on. It's still something you have to be aware of. It's still something you have to pay attention to. Then it said hopefully Trump is impeached in 18 months. That's for another subject, but the thing is, I'm not so sure he's going to get impeached. I'm not so sure. I think what's going to happen is, I on another stream I told you, it's going to probably end up with him finding some health reason to resign, and we'll end up with President Pence. Unless Pence is dirty in this also, and then I don't know what's going to happen. But that's about it. Oh, next time I come on, I am going to talk a little bit about, is there a possibility for a progressive movement with Republicans as we push to the political side? I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. If you guys watch Scandal, and a lot of men don't watch Scandal, but I actually enjoy watching. It was one of those things that my wife and I watched together. And on Scandal, the character Fitzgerald, I think it's Fitzgerald Grant is the character's name, the president, he was supposedly a progressive Republican. He was fiscally conservative and socially active. And if you have any idea, like continue this conversation after you finish, but if you know of any socially progressive, fiscally conservative Republican politicians out there, let me know. But maybe that was it. But I think Jesus Reyes says something brilliant. He says, I said about progressive Republicans, and Jesus Reyes said, you mean like the ones that were destroyed by the Tea Party? And so he's saying that that there was sort of a movement amongst Republicans to be more socially conscious and stuff like that, and they got shouted down by the rabble that was the Tea Party movement. So I wasn't so sure about that. So I'm going to check on it. I mean, he said something really interesting about that. Look back and scroll through my wall. There's some very interesting stuff, especially with my good friend from Tennessee, Adam Kroger. He is definitely raised some important things, like the importance of keeping the Southern tradition of, men in their 20s and 30s dating teenagers. I think that's a very important part of Americana. It should stay there. So just go back through the conversation and see when he comes up there. It's not just the fact that he goes contrary to anything that I say, but he actually really feels strongly about, I guess he feels really strongly about the fact that it's not, if she's not below age, no matter how old she is, if she's 15 in a day, then she's in play. That's how they do things down in Tennessee. That's not how we do things here in New York. You go to jail for it, but that's it. Ooh, I'm having trouble pulling focus. Oh, last thing, as I'm having a little focus issue here is, conservative, there's got to be somebody out there like the fictional Fitzgerald Grant from Scandal, who is a socially conscious, fiscally conservative Republican. Okay, so this right here is my iPhone 10, all right? And I use it for content creation and stuff like that. And I've had it for almost a month. It'll be a month. I guess it'll be a month on Sunday. And so what I want to tell people is that after the time that I've used this phone, I've come to love it. And the reason I love it is that I was not familiar with the ecosystem that is iPhone. I avoided it like the plague. I've used Windows phones, Blackberries, Androids all the time. So the learning curve of coming over to the iPhone and adding it to my arsenal. This is the note that I'm on right now, and this is what I use for taking street photography and stuff like that. You see that little blinking red light right there? What it's trying to do is it's unlocking my face through the live stream. That's pretty awesome. So that's what it does. It actually, the sensor on the front of my phone does something really cool. I put it in front of the live stream I'm doing now. It shined the infrared beam, bounced it off my screen onto my face and unlocked my phone, which means now I prove that you can actually probably bank your image off a mirror with another device and be able to unlock your iPhone. So all the stuff I had to learn new about how to use an iPhone, this new stuff that was on here. So if you always used one, there was a learning curve. But for me, since I never used it before, to me, this is the best way an iPhone could run. It's like this. I mean, you are kind of stuck with horrible notifications and this horrible thing here of how it does stuff here. I'm used to being able to configure launchers on Android. But I'll say after a month, I'm getting a set of moment lenses in to make my street photography game even better. I think the lens case that the lenses screw onto is $29, and the lenses themselves run anywhere from $50 to $100, but it'll make it really good. So I would say that I've dropped it a few times and it hasn't broken. The only thing I find is that iOS 11 creeps when it's uploading large files. The file handling is kind of terrible. I really mean that. The file handling on the iPhones and any iOS device is horrid. It's horrible. But the fact that I'm about to add my first MacBook Pro to my little arsenal here says that I like using it. So I say after a month, it's a really nice phone. Let me see you doing it again. See if it'll unlock. Come on, unlock. You did it before. I won't do it. Oh, I didn't do it this time. But that was really cool. I was able to show it my face this way. Oh, I won't do it again. Oh well. But yeah, so And using Siri, I've had iPads before and I love them. And so using the iPhone 10 after a month, it's a great device. And the fact that it's so overpriced that people say it's overpriced, I think what it is that if you're leasing it and you get into an iPhone Forever program, then you're fine. It's worth it. Hey, Keena. Oh, by the way, right now there's a young lady named Keena on here. I want you to go to her page and encourage her. She's taking finals. So I hope she passes all her finals. Sister Lowen, how are you? So yeah, I'm a reviewer. I do tech reviews also. I will never say anything bad about the iPhone 10. I've enjoyed it so far. I had to get used to the fact that it's so small, but it is a content creating monster. It is really great for creating content. It takes great pictures. I wish I had more control over the launcher, and the battery life has been decent so far. It's been decent. If you're used to the old architecture from the 6 Plus, the 7 Plus or whatever, the 7, there's no need to go to the 10 because those are great. The 8 Plus is great. But for me, as a jumping in point, it was really good. Now, of course, I automatically feel better. See me. Connection problems. Hi, I'm back. Hi. Okay, I'm back. We had a little internet glitch. And thankfully, since I told Facebook at the beginning that this is incidental music by New York City Bagel and Coffee House, not me, they're not going to block my streaming. But Keena, good luck, love you, hope you do well in your finals and stuff like that. Much success. Lowen, so thank you for tuning in and stuff like that. So yeah, that was just it. I'm sorry I got distracted. I have internet issues. Hopefully that won't happen in the future. But I'm saying my in review of the iPhone 10, the form factor is great. It's really easy to use. The only issue I have sometimes is trying to actually turn it off when I'm trying to reset it. Was getting used to that because there's no home button. You get used to it not having a home button, and it works great, and it's great. It's a content creation monster. I love it. And I've been shooting videos and pictures with an app called Filmic Pro, and even the free version of Filmic Pro is really good. But the funny part is I've had issues using it to live stream, putting up videos, putting up really nice, really smooth, considering how tiny the sensor is inside a cell phone. I still get pretty good videos out of it. Like in the future, I'm waiting for the first cell phone that's going to have maybe not a micro four thirds, but a full 1-inch size sensor. So the pictures will be even better. But for what it is, it's really good. So that's what I'm saying. I don't have any regrets purchasing the phone. I have no problems using it. It's a great little device. So anybody out there, to me, don't listen to the naysayers. If you can afford it or you can work out a leasing program or an iPhone Forever program, get the iPhone 10. It just works. It's a great device. That's all I can tell you about it. I mean, there's other cameras out there I would get, like next year if I continue reviewing, when the next Essential phone comes out, when the next Google Pixel phone comes out. And the next thing I would tell somebody is if you have access to get phones that aren't as popular here in the United States, the OnePlus 5, the OnePlus 5T, the new phone that came out, is awesome. And the thing is, I would get that if you could, because it's as good as my Note 10, and it's as good as this phone here at 2/3 the cost. And it's pretty good. It's a great phone. The Essential phone was great, but the camera was trash. The Razer phone is great, but it's only if you play video games. Most of the people I deal with don't play video games on their phones like that. But it did have something called 120 megahertz refresh rate, meaning that it's buttery smooth. It's the best graphics phone you can get, but that's the Razer phone. And I had my hands on the BlackBerry, not the Key One, and it's great, but it's a BlackBerry. So even with great hardware and the same software that they had, it's just the time has passed for it. But it was a really nice attempt at a phone, Okay, so that's it. Quick one today. We've talked about net neutrality, and I lament the passing of that legislation that actually helped us. We talked about Omorossa having the best no-show job in the world and getting fired, and the fact that, what is that prune? Maxwell said, what is her name? What's her name? The prune from Clueless. She'll probably take over the job because he wants to have someone black that he knows in the White House. He'll put her in there. We talked about how Roy Moore was just too disgusting for even the people who really believed in him to continue to support him. He wasn't contrite, never felt bad for it. And also, I posted up something, and then I'll let you guys go. There was a state legislature in Kentucky who was a pastor of a church, and he was accused of molesting someone in his basement. He was also a politician. And that was 2013. The case was closed. They reopened the case, and in light of the fact they were going to reopen the case and probably put him back through what he went through before, he committed suicide. And some people on my page are like, oh, good, good, good. And it's sad. It's sad when anybody loses their life. But the whole idea is that if you're innocent, you fight it out. You fight it tooth and nail, you fight it out. But the fact that when it came back up, I guess he didn't want to put his family and his congregation to it, so he went down by the river and killed himself. And, you know, I understand the sentiment that he's an abuser and everything else, and I'm not trying to defend what he did. I think he's a piece of garbage, especially supposedly being a man of faith and doing that to somebody or whatever. But it's also the idea of, if the case was going to be was worthy of reopening in 2017, why wasn't it processed in 2013? What happened? Why did the climate have to happen? Why did everybody have to jump on the bandwagon before something is done? And then before you answer that question, for all the people out there who watch my stuff and they don't understand why it was so important to have Black Lives Matter, when Black Lives Matter was an it word and an it phrase and stuff like that. You had to bring attention to it for the climate to change, for real change to come through. So before anybody said anything, a lot of people who are anti this guy, but were anti-Black Lives Matter. But now you understand that you have to change the climate before you can affect real change. So that's what happened. So a case that was dismissed in 2013 was going to be, he actually felt was going to be reopened, and he could have been found guilty in 2017. And maybe that never would have happened. This woman who now, I guess, gets no closure because he killed himself, but she maybe would have stand a chance to get closure because we changed the dialogue when it comes to sexual violence and discrimination and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just linking the two things together. Now you understand why things like Black Lives Matter mattered. It opened the conversation up. It forced people to face things, and you look at things through a different prism. So now, when it comes to claims about abuse and stuff like that, people pay more attention. And the last is what the last thing, taken out of context, is that someone asked me today, said, what's going to happen is Strahan going to get into trouble on ABC, considering that he's male, he was once a jock and stuff like that. I think Michael Strahan set himself up long ago that after he went through all the stuff he did in his divorce and the accusations his wife had about him during their divorce, if you don't know, again, we talked about my old radio show, but if you just Google Michael Strahan and his divorce, and you'll see the claims that his wife made against him. And I think from that point, early in his broadcast career, he realized that he's got to keep his nose clean and try to be above reproach. But if things aren't over, if you look at the gossip boards here in New York about the New York Radio Board and stuff like that, which also covers all media, they're saying that there might be somebody else at ABC who may lose their job locally. Not a local anchor may have issues still on Channel 7. That's Channel 7 here in New York. Like I said, there still might be somebody else they're mentioning. And all those guys on that station seem great. I hope that's not the case. But I think as far as Michael Strahan, when you get divorced and your wife makes claims against you like she did and you survive those, hopefully you keep your nose clean, that he's not an abuser, that he didn't do anything else. And also that if the things that she alleged about him are true, that's his personal business. And if they're not true, she shouldn't have slandered him. All right? So that's it. Coming to you from New York City Bagel Company. I just want you to see. New York City. There we go. New York City Bagel Company. They're nice enough to let me sit up here and enjoy their heat and some really good coffee. Let me give them another plug. See? This is the fuel that I'm driven by, besides your clicks. All right? So you guys have a great day. Love you. This is a quickie. I think I got this done in under an hour. I got a lot of stuff out of the way. You're going to see more content because Facebook wants to see the stuff that I do. Maybe we can make some money off of this in the future. All right? So you guys have a great day. Bert Hubbard, taken out of context media, Hubbard Media Group. Yeah, that's it. Have a great one, guys. Take care.